Hi, my name's Prue McRae, and for many years now I have specialised in jewellery made with kumihimo techniques. Now, if you've seen my previous video on how to create round braid or Congo gumi on the round disc, you'll be ready to start playing with beads. Now, when I first started trying to add beads into my kumihimo, I was very disappointed in the results, and the reason was I didn't quite understand how important the materials and equipment are. So what I want to show you in this video is the key to success with beaded kumihimo, and I'm going to be quite specific about the materials you need. Once you've got the technique, then you can start to experiment with all different sorts of beads and materials and make your own great designs. It's an easy technique to master as long as you've got the equipment and materials right. So, what do you need? Well, let's look at the cord. You need something that's going to be really reliable, strong, stretch resistant, abrasion resistant, and not too expensive as well. So what I'm recommending is beading cord. You will find this either as Eslon or Ceylon. And I'm recommending for this project the 0.5mm diameter. You may also come across it as Tex 210. Then the beads. You can use all sorts of beads with kumihimo, but start with size 8 glass seed beads from a good, reliable manufacturer. This will give you the opportunity to make really neat braids, and you will know that your technique is right if you're using good quality beads. If you're using beads of all different shapes and sizes, it's much harder to see where you've made mistakes. You can explore that later on, once you know you've got the technique right. Now, the most important thing of all is, of course, the disc. But for beaded kumihimo, it's really important that the slots on the disc are in really tip-top condition. So you need a brand new disc or a disc that has only ever been used for that 0.5mm diameter. If you've used your disc for something larger like satin cord, you will find that the slots can't quite grip those cords to the degree they need to. So you need a brand new disc or one that's only ever been used for thin beading cord. You might want to use an extra thick disc. They're absolutely brilliant, but if your disc is brand new, a thinner one is fine too. Size doesn't matter too much. It depends on the size of your hands though, really. You need to be able to reach to the middle. So if you've got reasonably sized hands like me, the large disc is fine, or you might find that otherwise the small disc is possibly an easier reach. The hole size in the middle, that doesn't matter either for this particular project, but the larger size will accommodate larger beads. Then finally, what you need to think about is the weight you're going to use. Your cords, if you've followed my advice on the disc, your cords will be gripped quite firmly in those slots. You may prefer not to use a weight. Many people find they don't need one. I personally always like to use a weight, and I use a 50-gram weight like this gator weight. And if you don't have something like that, you can improvise with something else, a bag of coins to about that weight. But you will find a neat little clip-on weight is a really good thing to start off with. So let's get started. So this is the setup. As I'm not going to be needing the numbers on the disc, I've simply turned it over and popped dots in the north, south, east and west positions. But it's a matter of personal choice which side of the disc you use. We're going to do round braid, 8 cord. You may also have come across it as Congo gumi. So you need 8 cords, tie them together in a knot and position them on the disc on either side of the north, south, east and west dots. Load beads onto all of your cords. I'm using slightly larger beads. I'm actually using size 6 here just for the purposes of demonstration, but don't forget you're going to be using size 8. When you braid, you want to keep your disc nice and level. You want to keep the cords nice and tight across the face of the disc, the knot in the middle and level with the top of the disc. If you're using a weight, attach that, or if you're using your fingers underneath, just maintain a steady pull from your fingers. And you need to make sure that everything is hanging freely. I'm working over a table here, which is not ideal, but it gives me the background. The ideal is to have everything hanging freely. To keep your beads into position, you can just keep them there with a stop bead. So with a size 6 bead, what I have done is I have run through the bead twice in the same direction so that I can move it up and down the cord. And the reason for this is you want to keep your beads quite nice and close to the disc so they're easy to use, but you will now and then need to release more cord. So you can release more cord by moving the bead down or up, and then you can keep it back in position by moving it up again. So let's get started, and just a very quick recap. The moves we're going to do are top to bottom, bottom to top, and rotate. You can start with either the top right or the bottom left, it makes no difference. You can rotate in either direction. If one way is more comfortable than the other, do that. Otherwise, rotate your disc in an anti-clockwise direction, because this is the most common way of doing it, and this will mean that it's easier for you to use patterns that you may find elsewhere. So we're going to do a quick recap there. Top to bottom, bottom to top, and rotate. Top to bottom, bottom to top, and rotate. And keep those cords straight. Top to bottom, bottom to top, and rotate. Now I'm going to show you how to add in just one bead at a time. What you do with your next move is you allow a bead to drop down the cord, and you need to tuck it under this cord here. Just the edge of the bead will tuck under it. So using my nail, I'm just tucking it under, and then I'm bringing my cord down and putting it into the slot. Now, it is very important that that bead stays behind this cord. If necessary, you can reach across with your thumb to make sure it stays in position. And then you continue with the rest of your moves. Again, your top to bottom, bottom to top, and rotate. And continue until you come to that cord again, and you can add another bead, and that will space out your beads. That'll be on every 8 moves, and that'll give you a nice braid where you can see a bit of braid in between. Now in the next move, I'm going to show you how to add a bead on 2 cords. So it's really exactly the same. You've just got a few more beads to worry about. So drop that bead in, tuck it under, make sure it stays there, put the bead in its slot, the cord in its slot, and now with your bottom to top move, do the same thing. And again, it's got to be tucked under the cord that you're crossing over there. And then just continue with your moves. Notice how my thumb is ready to hop over. I just continue. And that will space my beads a little bit more closely together. If the point of braiding, which is this, starts to migrate, just simply pull on the cords to bring it back to the middle and keep everything tight. Now I'm going to show you how to add a bead on all 8 cords. So here is number 1. And it's exactly the same thing. We're making sure it stays under that cord that it's crossing. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Number 6. Nearly there. Number 7. And number 8. And you can just continue on braiding like that, making sure that those braids stay behind that cord that it's crossing over. If you find a bead actually pops out of place, let's say I don't quite put it into the right position and it's hopped over like that, the best thing is not to try and push it back with the cord in position, but actually to bring the cord right back again, let the bead slot under and put it into position and continue like that. So that is as simple as it is. The designs on the braid are achieved by the placement of the beads, and that's where you can start to have really good fun. The boring part, if I have to call it that, of beaded kumihimo is threading the beads on. My recommendation is that you thread them on in a very good light, possibly earlier on in the day when you're feeling fresh, and then save the braiding, which is the lovely part after all, for later on in the day, perhaps when you're watching a film, listening to the radio, watching television. Most of all, have fun. Well, I hope you've found that useful. What you need to do now is lots of practice, because that's how you'll end up with really neat and accurate braids. But in the meantime, have lots of fun. Play with different beads, different colours, and you can make some really gorgeous bracelets just playing with the different placement of those size 8 beads. But you can also move on to other sorts of bead. You might want to use larger beads. Here I've used different shapes. I've used squares and triangles and peanut shaped beads. You can use beads with the hole at one end. Just experiment and find what works for you. At this stage though, what I would avoid is really round beads, particularly those with a small hole, like say 4mm gemstones. There are a few extra little tricks you need to get those to work well, and I'm going to show you those in future videos. I hope you'll have fun with this. Don't forget, I've got lots of other videos showing you how to finish off your braids and make some great jewellery, to show you how to use different sorts of equipment, such as the square plate and my own patented kumihimo disc. And if you subscribe to the channel, then you'll be notified of when I'm uploading new videos. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, bye!